Da, 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 da. Right. Hi everyone, I'm on early again, just to make sure everything's up and running and right. Plastered in glitter again. So, hello, is there anybody there? I am early, so I'm just giving it a bit of chance to people to get on. Hope everybody's okay. Close that down, round that up a bit, and then be nice and straight. Hi everyone. Hi Rani. How are you? Hi Helen. So whoever's on today, if I know a lot of people might be out walking because the weather is so nice and warm. We've already been out for hours today, so I won't start until 2 o'clock, but I will show you these lovely little beauties, and I'll just wait for the for me to see the camera to see if you can see the glitter. Can you see the sparkle? I wonder. Let's try and get that light up. See, it's always hard to try and get the sparkle in. Don't know if you can see that. La 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 la. Yeah, you can just see it there as I wiggle it that way. So that is glitter, and then you can also see that on the hearts in the center of this one. So if you don't mind sharing, and what's the time? Just see what the time is. I think we're going to be a bit short on the ground today. Yeah, no, it is difficult to show sparkle. I will try my best though. Probably doesn't help that I got shadows there from that. But yeah, you can see that it's sparkle there, so that's fine. Hi Lee. Hi Deborah. So anyway, so what I'm going to show today is texture paste, some stamping, some glittering of the texture paste to try and bring out all the sparkle in all of these cards. And I'm using stencils as well. So let's see that sparkle on there. So stencils that I'm using on today's one is going to be this one. Thanks Lee, thank you for sharing. So if anybody else can share. Hi Leslie, afternoon. So I'm going to be using this blue and silvery one today. So that's nice, and you can just sort of see, can't really see the sparkle, but I'm going to get that right in after. Then you've got, so that sort of chevron-y thing. We've got this pattern, which I've also used on this one. So the white patches with white glitter. This is a mixture of glitter. So I can bring them up, maybe you can catch the glitter a bit more. So that's a mixture of glitter. Yeah, if I bring them up and shine them to the window, you can see them a bit better. Yeah, there we are. So that's that one. So that's a mixture of glitters. That's teals, greens, and I think a bit of the mixture glitters. That's where that stencil, and this is the one I used on, this is the stencil I used on the frog card last week. Need to get back to Carmen. Yeah, I bet work is things everybody's trying to keep sort of pretty and stuff like that now, so I bet you're busy with your makeup and your keeping beautiful. So first thing is first, and it has gone 2 o'clock now. Hi Donna, hi Sandra, have I missed anybody? Hi Elizabeth, just trying to see if I missed anybody. So there we are. So I've said hi to everybody that's on. Hi sis, hi Donna. So what I'm going to do one of these cards, and today's colours I'm going to use a navy blue. I'm going to use a midnight ink, which hasn't actually been opened yet, so that'll be a new first for that one. Oh, that's good, Lee. Very good. So first thing first, I'm going to use some stencils, and the stencils are part of our, there they are, couldn't find them then. So they're the slimline stencils from Creative Expressions. So there's quite a few there. Chevron, woven rope, basket weave, and it's the basket weave I'm using today. Floral swirl, floating hearts, and lattice swirl. Okay, so that's what I'm using as the stencil. And then the stamps I'm using and the dies, it's actually come from the Crafter's Inspiration, and that's issue 29. So what I'm using out of that, so obviously you get a magazine, and what I'm using out of that is the butterfly and one of these sentiments. I'm going to be using that butterfly, which is the set of stamps that comes in. I'm going to be using the Build a Kite die that also comes in that magazine. And I'm also going to be using a part of the stencil, cloud stencil, that comes with the magazine as well. So I know we've got a few of those left in stocks, and I know our regulars who always buy it have already had theirs. So first things first, let's get on with making this card. So I'm just going to pop this one to the side, put the blue one to the side, and then we can get going. So the first things first is I'm going to do my texture paste. So I'm going to open up a non-stick mat. This could be a glass mat, could be a craft mat, but I would put a piece of paper on the craft mat. It's a self-healing one. And then I'm going to choose a stencil. So I'm going to use a purple, a lilac-y purple and a teal colour. So I think what I'll do, I quite like this stencil, so I think I'll use that one today. Just to show you how to do the, hi Karen. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place this on a piece of card that's a little bit wider, and if you want sizes, I can give you a size. The card is 12 by 21, but you don't have to do it at 12, you can do it 13, 14, you can do it on an A5 piece. I've just cut some down ready. I'm just going to tape the very edges so my stencil is in place. And I'm going to take, oh thank you Karen, long time no speak. used to work with Karen in Cardiff in a print company. So yeah, so this is texture paste, and it's a clear texture paste, so it dries like glossy, like a glass. So you can't paint it onto something, leave it dry, and then it becomes sort of glassy. And obviously the thinner it goes on, the quicker it dries. The thicker it goes on, the longer it takes to dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a palette knife and a little bit of the paste. I'm just going to pop it on the top. I'm just going to use the flat end of the palette knife to drag my paste down. And that's all I'm doing, is just coating that in one sort of swoop. A little bit more. This paste does go a long way. Try not to go over what I've already been over too many times, especially if your stencil is quite fine, because the paste can go under. But if there's a little bit in the middle that I haven't quite got, and I'm not worried about too much on the edges or towards the top and the bottom, because I'm going to be cutting this down and it's going to be hidden behind the frame, so that frame is going to go on top, so I'm not too concerned too much about that. So there we are, and any left I can scrape back into my pot, and I can cover that up, cover the pot up. So always make sure you seal your pot, because the air can make it dry. Just going to remove my tape from the bottom. I've been doing cards for a long time now, Karen, so it's it's been a learning curve over the years, but I have got a lot better. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to lift the stencil, and I'm going to pop that just to the side a minute, because it's something I wanted to try today while I'm with you. Because what you still got paste on your stencil. So what I want to do, take another piece of that paper, and I'm going to turn the stencil over, and I'm just going to use the edge of my ruler just to push that down, and then I'm going to lift that up, and then I'm going to wash this stencil in a minute. But because this will dry quicker because it's thinner, I just want to put some glitter on there. So I'm just going to, so this is what some of the people call in the craft world a twofer. Okay, and I'm not worried about putting, I could worry about putting this back in the pot. Thank you. So Gavin's cleaning my stencil for me. And what I'm going to do, so this is using what was on the back of the stencil, first of all. So this will give it a finer, not so bold look. But as a background, it could be quite nice. So then you end up with sort of the reverse of the stencil on that. So that's the one. So that's the reverse of the stencil, by just putting some of the paste down that was still stuck on the stencil. So I end up with that nice little random background, and I can spritz inks over that or whatever after it's dry. And then I'm going to bring in my main piece. Okay. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to, thank you for washing my stencil. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take some glitters, and there's a little handle on the top, and when you turn it, you can either have a salt and pepper shaker, or there's a bigger gap over the other side to pour, I'm using the sort of salt shaker, and that's all I'm going to do is just randomly go back and forth, just tap in the pots with my fingers, and that's going to randomly put some colours down. And then close that. I'm going to take my lilac-y purple, and I'm going to go with that one as well. So I'm just going to go across, and it doesn't matter if it goes across the colour you've already done, because it won't take to the same part of the paste. Hi Sarah. Okay, so that's that. Do we want a bit more teal or a bit more lilac? Well, that's entirely up to you now. So you can go any way you want. So we can, if you want more lilac, you can put more lilac. If you want more blue, you can put more blue. And just go across here. And I don't tend to worry about putting mixed glitters back in the pots they've come from when I'm doing one piece like this. Okay, I'm just going to tap that down onto there. I'm actually going to turn it over, just flip the back. That'll take the excess of the glitters away. And we've got to try and remember then not to put your fingers in that paste. So I'm going to move it up so that you can see if we can get some of that glitter showing. There we are, you can just see it as it catches the light. Just wiggle it back and forth so you can see it. Thank you, Lee. It's really nice, and it's so subtle because you're not getting big dollops of your glitter. Although if you wanted big dollops of glitter, you just take a spoon and put a dollop, 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 and then you can put dollops of colour in it. So that was pasting through the stencil, and that was actually pushing the stencil down onto a piece of card and then adding the glitter to the paste on that. So you're getting sort of the reverse pattern from the stencil. So it's a two for one. Okay, and then the glitters that I have left here are now a mixture of two colours. And in fact, if I take a big makeup brush and collect the gold that I put on the first one, I can put that on there and mix that into the blue. And then I have an old big pot which I put all my mixed glitters into. And even that is a lovely, lovely mix that I can pour straight onto. There we go. So basically that's all we've done is taken a stencil, we've stuck it down onto my piece of card, and I've pasted through stencil with the texture paste, and then I've added some glitters. Okay. So that one I'm going to put aside because that will need to dry. It will dry within a couple of hours to be able to work with it. But if I leave that to the side now overnight, it'll just give the texture paste complete time to dry. And it'll also mean that my card will flatten out a bit more because there'll be no... You could use pixie sparkles or powders with that too. Yes, you could. Yes, you could use pixie sparkles, pixie powders, mica powders, anything like that. Okay, any powders you can put on there. And then if you wanted to make the colours explode a little bit more from the powders, you can actually spritz them lightly with water as well. Thank you, Judith. It is lovely colours, and you can completely change this. And there is a few little blank areas, and if I wanted to, I could go in with a clear glitter and just go over that and then knock that all off, so all the other areas will be covered. Okay, but I'm going to put that to the back now, because like I said earlier, the one I'm actually going to use is this blue and silver one that I did. last night. So I did it last night and just left it to dry then. So once you've done this, when you come back to it the following day, what I would suggest is just taking your glitter catchment card and just take your brush, your soft brush, and just go over it, because if there's any loose glitters that's on the top that hasn't embedded into the thing, will actually catch on your paper again, and you can see there's loads in there, and you can pop that back into your pot. Okay, so you won't waste any of your glitters. And by doing that as well, it means that the person that receives the card in the post doesn't get covered in glitter as well. So don't forget, if you have any questions, please ask. If I don't answer them, then Gava will. I'm just going to give this mat a bit of a wipe. Okay, so I've finished with those glitters now. So I'm going to pop them to the bank. So that is the one I'm going to be using. Oops, I need to clean my palette knife as well. So if your palette knife has got texture paste on it, you do need to be taking your water spritzer or taking it to the tap and just giving it a bit of a wash. I'll just spritz it with water at the moment. I'll just take this cloth, just wipe it, because if you don't, then it will stay on there and it does go hard, and then you'll just have to scrape it off with your nails or with the back end of a knife. But that's nice and clean now. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. So my next part is I need an A4 piece, and this is navy. This is navy blue because I'm going to use it with this. And I've got 2 sheets of 300 gram white card. This is super smooth, but you can use pick a mix, porous stuff, watercolor cards. You can use whatever you want really. And I'm going to take the first piece of the 300 gram white. Yeah, they are good. The pastes are really nice. You can do all sorts of things with them. That is a clear one, that one. I'm putting it on landscape onto my scoreboard on the centimetre side, and I'm scoring all the way to the left, and I'm scoring at 15 centimetres. Now, because that's been pushed down, I'm actually going to push the 2 edges down as well, and then that means that the card's not going to crack. And just reinforce the fold by putting my tool across it. And that is my scoring done for this card. Okay, so that's the base of my card. This is my piece that's going to go on the card there, so you can see I've cut it smaller than the A4 or the A5. And then I'm going to bring in my guillotine. So you can use a trimmer, guillotine, whatever you want to use really. So the piece I'm going to cut now is the bit for the outer frame, which also becomes your inner frames as well. Thank you for the love, everyone. Yeah, it's really nice actually. It's got a bit of a texture to it as well, but it's really nice. It's what we do in our pick and mix in work. And I'm putting it in landscape, and I'm cutting it 14.5 centimetres, because I am one for doing centimetres. And then I'm going to turn that 14.5 piece, so that is landscape, and I'm going to cut it at 20.5. You can get coloured pastes as well, yes, you can get glitter pastes, you can get all sorts of different pastes. So that is my piece of card, which will actually fit onto the base there, showing a little bit of white around the edges. And then I'm going to take my second piece of white card. You can even mix some spritzers into it as well, into the paste, and mix them on your mat first before you put them through your stencil. Just got to make sure you don't do it too wet. So I'm cutting my white to 13.5 centimeters. So it's a centimeter less than my blue. And then the blue was 20.5, so I'm now going to cut the white to 19.5, which is a centimetre smaller again. So then that will be my blue and my white for the front of my card. Okay. So that's the guillotine finished with for now. And I am going to move this mat now because I've finished with the paste. I'm not worried about anything else getting on the table for now. I will bring that in a bit later. So, the bop as well. So I've got my base card, which is folded to 15. Okay, and I'm going to pop that to the side. So that is the base card, like this. The white card there. I've then got my navy, and I've also got my white. So the navy is 14.5 centimeters by 20.5, and then my white is 13.5 by 19.5, and I'm just going to hold that so it's roughly in place. And I'm going to bring in my square dies. Okay, so I've got numerous different square dies. You could use scallop, you could use anything you want, but I'm going to use my normal sort of plain squares. You can use stitch squares, you can use whatever you want. And from the middle of my ones, I'm taking the 5th and the 6th die out from the middle. Okay, so 5th and 6th. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we then take the largest one of the two, and I'm going to place it towards the top. So I'm sort of centralizing it this way, but I'm leaving a little gap at the top. I'm just going to get that square, so you might get my head in a minute. Yep, so that's square. And I'm going to take a piece of low tack tape, and I'm sticking the die to the center part there because I'm not really going to use those on the card base. So I'm then going to cut that. So I'm going to bring in my grand caliber plates. So that's the machine I got at home. Just make sure that is stuck. So base plate, top plate, and I'm popping that through my machine. And you hear a crack where the die is cut in. So that's that square, and I'm going to put that square to the side. I have used these bits of tape before, so they're not as sticky. That's no problem, Donna. I know you tend to watch them a bit later when you're in bed in the night relaxing. Hope you're okay though. Okay. So then what I'm doing, I'm just lining up the die and leaving a gap there and making this gap and this gap about the same. So the gap to the top and the gap to the bottom roughly about the same. And then whatever I've got left in the middle, I just leave there. Okay, and I'm going to cut that. It's okay, Bev, no problem. You know you're busy with your Valindra fundraising and stuff. Okay, Donna, no problem, love. So now I've cut the second square out, and I'm just going to put them to the side for now, because I will be using one or two of them in a minute. And that's all I'm going to do. I tend to run my fingers just gently along the edge, just in case there's little shavings within there of paper, which you can see comes off then. Okay, so that's that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring in my navy piece of card that I've cut. I'm going to place my card on there so I can see that, and I'm going to remove the tape from my largest die, and I'm going to bring in the die that is one down, so the slightly smaller one. So to get a window within a window and not using 2 or 3 pieces of card, you're taking the same piece of card, you're going to hold your white in place so it's nice and nice border all the way around. Going to take your smaller die, and your smaller die will fit within that window, and then you tape that on to the center, and then you can lift your white piece off. Now I try to keep the white piece and the blue piece all set so I know it's the right way up. So that's the top, that's the bottom. But if you're unsure and you think you get mixed up, just mark it. So I've now cut this one, and you can see that's a hole in there. If I put this back on, so it's where it should be, you can see my square is perfect inside there. Remove the blue from there, hold that in place again, and then put my other square piece inside the middle of that. Okay, and then I can take the white bit off again. Yep. Place that onto there. I'm glad you like it, Ellie. It's nice sometimes just to be able to cut some windows out of a card without sort of using too many layers, because layers mean weight in the post, and weight is more money. So you can then make your cards as flat and as light as you want. So that's the 2 dies finished with now. And I can give you the size of the dies as well. The largest one I used was 7 centimeters wide, and the smallest one was 6. Okay, so that is that. Now when I bring that in, it means I've got my nice little windows. I know you like making your cards, Lee. You like making your 3D flowers as well, which I like what you do with them. Okay, so now I've got this. So the next part I want to do is I want to do my inking and my stamping onto this piece of white. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put that card a little bit to the side there. I'm going to bring in my craft mat again. And I'm going to put my white there. So I'm moving my blue to the side, keeping it the right way up. And this is my white that we've just die cut. And I'm going to take my cloud stencil. Okay, now you can use the top, the bottom, you can even mix and match all these. Go to open my ink. Sometimes you've got to have a break from doing what you are doing just to have fun and enjoy yourself a bit more, I think. So I'm using a Midnight opaque pigment ink. Going to use one of my finger daubers, And Midnight Sky, I'm going to use that dark blue one there. There we are. And then I'm going to take my clouds stencil, and what I want to do, as I have on this card here, I want to put clouds sort of down this side, and then I'm going to stamp the butterflies up this side. Okay, so you can just see the clouds in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my stencil, and what's all you've got to do is make sure you don't go over this cloudy bit there. You can put a bit of tape over the full clouds, but I'm just going to be careful. Just tap my ink on there, take a little bit off because I don't want it to be too dark. I'm just going to flick off the end and then rub gently across. And that's going to be quite dark, so you can see that there. I'm going to take it to the other side a bit as well. I'm just going to flick that off. So I've got a cloud going all the way across the top there. Okay. I'm going to bring my cloud over so it's a little bit of a different area. And the more you use this, the lighter and darker it'll become. So I'm just going to, that's that. And I'm just going to keep coming and keep coming down this side, moving my stencil over, flicking up, just so we get different sort of clouds in there. Might put a little bit of a cloud in the middle there as well, who knows. There we are. Okay, and then just a little bit more, go a little bit more down there, and then very palely then towards the bottom, and then going paler again, so don't put too much. Turn it. So there you can see we've got clouds now coming down the right hand side. So along the top and coming down that right hand side. Okay. So that's what I wanted with that. Okay. With your ink that's on you, all you have to do, I love cloud stencils, absolutely love cloud stencils. I think they're amazing, you can do so much with them. And the fact that this comes with a magazine is just quite, I love it. So that is my stencil, cloud stencil finished with, but I need to bring that in again. And then what I'm going to do, as I have in this little card here, I'm going to add the butterflies down the side here. Okay, but I'm also going to bring in one of the squares that actually came out of here, and I'm going to put that there as well, and I'm going to put that in a diamond shape to my side. So what I want to do now, I want to tap that there, and I'm going to do 2 stamps of that. So 1, 2, and then because I want them to be coming lighter as they come up and across, I'm going to stamp my first one on this side, and then my second one there, and then I'm going to do a third one like that. And then I'm going to come back into here, I'm going to stamp one there, I'm going to come to there and there. So you're literally just building up the sort of sides. So I'm just inking up the butterfly again, stamping on this one, and then coming into there. That's 2, 3, put a full one there, full one there, and I'm going to take another one, stamp that there. I want to stamp a second one there because I want this to be paler up there. Have that coming off. 3. There we are. Stamp this again up to the front. Stamp that off again. 2, so I'm matching this. I'm going to put this one into there. I'm going to come up, do a little bit there as well. And then another one there. Another one at the top, and I just want to put a little bit coming off the ends down there. So then you can see then I've got the sort of butterflies sort of cascading up the left hand side. So you've got butterflies there, and then you've got your clouds coming down that side. Okay. And then to finish this little triangle, this diamond piece here, just going to ink up. I'll finish off the card. Some butterflies. Like that. Okay, so now I've cut that out. So now I've stamped that. And again then I can put that ink aside. There's water on this cloth already. And I can clean that stamp off with some water, and if the ink doesn't come off I can get my archival ink cleaner. So that is that bit, so I'll leave that to the side. So that is now to fit on there. Okay, and while I'm waiting, so I'm going to just use my high tack. The cloud stencil is in the Crafter's Inspiration issue 29. So it's issue 29. I think it is on the link of stuff on the bottom of this, of the comment section on the live. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just doing little circular motions with my glue, a little bit down the middle. I'm just going to pop that onto there. Okay, and that is stuck on there. So that's my first part of the card sorted. I've also got my card base, which I'm just going to put them together to the side. And then I've also got this piece as well, which will actually fit under there, and then that'll shine through there. Okay, so you end up with your sparkle then in the center of that there. Okay, so I'm going to pop that to the side, because what I want to do now is concentrate on these little kite there. So I'm going to bring in the kite die, and the kite die actually comes with a magazine as well. That's okay, Sarah. And the kite die, the kite itself is 2 dies. So you've got the outer cutting die, which would be your big matten layer, and then you've got the sort of triangles that cut out, the diamond parts are cut out of the kite. So on this diamond piece that I stamped with butterflies, the reason I stamped it in a diamond format was so that when I come in with this die, I can put the longest point of the kite down this bottom bit and put this piece at the top. so the shorter bit at the top, and then I can stick them onto there. Put my bang on my glue. So just reaching for my plates, same plates. So I've got that die there, okay, which I'll just cut straight out. That'll give me that little area. Okay, so that I'm going to keep that piece as well, because I'll show you what I'm going to do with that now as well. And then I'm going to take this other piece of this, and right in the center I'm going to place that die and this die. Make sure there's a gap between them all, between the outer and the inner one, and I'm going to tape them on together. Okay, so you can see I've taped them on the navy, and this was the other half of navy that I'm going to use on the inside of the card. And as you can see, as I take them off, the kite just comes to life. So I have this piece, and then I have the 4 pieces that actually came out. I don't need the 4 pieces that came out. And I've now finished cutting that and that bit of die. But out of the bit that I had left there, that I stamped the butterflies on, I want to cut these little sort of, it's these little bow type things. They look like dicky bows. I'm going to take that, and that actually fits on the side there, so you get a bit of that colour then coming through those as well. Okay, so I'm going to cut that out of that. I'm going to take the other piece of white that I had from there, and I'm going to do that. Going to take my ink again, and my butterflies. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I'm going to stamp 3 butterflies on there. Going to tape that bow there. Okay, and I'm going to put them through. And while that bow is still in there, I'm just going to take the little finger dauber that I used earlier and just ink through the die. Okay, and then when I lift the die off and push out my bow with the pokey tool, it actually leaves the little bow pattern just on the bow like that. Okay, so remember to just give your die a bit of a wipe and pop that back on its carrier because it's such a small die, and then just around the very edges I'm just going to tap and on the edge of the tails. Just going to tap around with my little finger dauber, just to give that a little bit of blueness around just the edges of these. Okay, and then on this little bit I actually cut all the four little bows. I can just poke them out. So that's them. Okay, and because we did it on the piece that we stamped, it means we've got a little bit of pattern to them. So that has now been finished with. That's done, that's done. We don't need the four corners that came out of that. And the other thing I do need to do is I need to take the long wiggly die from there, and I'm going to push that onto there, and I'm going to cut that out as well. So it's all coming out of the middle of this piece here. Okay, and there we are. So I've now got my little kite tail as well. And that, so like I said, these dies are very small, so some of them, so once you've finished with them, just pop them back onto the sticky sheet, or if you've got a magnetic sheet that you put for them, then put them back on there, and then that's safe then out of the way. So look at that bit. Okay, so now I'm going to remove my mat again. There's my kite, there's my kite tail, there's my 3 butterflies, there's my bow, and there's my 4 little bow ties. Why did you cut the kite out of the middle of the navy card? Right, the reason I cut the kite out of the second part of navy card, this is the second half of the navy card, so the reason I cut that out of there and cut the sort of kite string out of there was because when I trim this down to go inside the card, so if I just cut that, so this will go inside the card, and that gets cut to 14 by 20.5. So when I've cut that like that, and then when I cut my piece for my verse for the center of the card, I cut that to 13.5 by 20. Then what that gives me, this is for my sentiment then for the front. For the inside of the card then, I put that on top of there. My verse will be stamped over where the kite is, so it won't affect any writing, and you don't waste any of another sheet of navy card just to do that. Yeah, it's for the insert. So by cutting that out of the centre, and if I'm stamping a verse there, it's not going to affect any of the writing, so I can just put that onto there. So it's saving the card. Okay. Good question. That was a good question. So I'm all for saving people money with their card and stuff like that. If you can just use 1 sheet of navy and 2 sheets of white, and then that little bit of white card to do your paste on you know, you're making the card for a lot cheaper. Okay, so to do this kite now, first thing we need to do is to stick the tail at the back of this blue bit. So the other way of doing it is, so what I'm going to do on the butterfly piece, I'm going to put a little bit of glue just on the corner, on the point, and then however I want that string to come out, I'm going to stick that onto the end like that. And then on the back of the blue frame of the kite, just going to take my fine end of my glue, put a little bits of glue down the edges so you can just see that, and then that is going to fit exactly on top of there. And then that little bit of string, or the kite string from the die, it's actually being held by the bottom bit and the top bit, so it's being sandwiched, but then your kite has actually got your butterfly design inside it. Okay, and then we've got the kite, we've got our bow, we've got our 4 little dicky bows. I'm going to keep calling them dicky bows now. And we've also got 3 butterflies. So the next part for me to do is to bring in my card. Okay. And what we're going to do, we're going to stick the glittery bit, really sparkly glittery bit, I'm going to stick that, just going to bend the ends a bit, I'm going to stick that down onto the front of my card. So I'm going to put a bit of glue around the outer edge and then a wiggle down the middle. I'm going to place that onto the centre of the card. It's very hard to see because it's white on white, but I'm sure it's fine. And I'm just going to put some pressure down on the edges where the glue was. I'm just going to leave that there. So that is now stuck on the centre there, and this will actually come over and we'll see that there. Okay, so the next part is to put some foam pads on the back of my frame. I'm just going to use some foam tape. That's all I'm doing. I'm using my fingers as little holders, and I'll bring that in now. I'll show you how I did with that. I put one in each corner, one in the centre. I'll bring that into the camera shot. I just space my fingers apart like that. I cut in between the fingers. Be careful, especially if your scissors is really sharp. I've got 4 of them. One there, one there, one there, one there. And I need to do some for the bottom. But by using some of this, you can use your foam pads as well, your basic standard foam pads. Point them to the corner. It's just my foam tape is a little bit thinner than my foam pads, so I'm going for a thinner looking card, that's all. Okay, so I've got my pieces on there. Just going to take them off. And then, because this is going to be stuck over something that's got glitter on there, just going to put a little bit of wet glue on the back of those foam pads as well. Okay, and I'm going to pop that onto there. Also gives you a little bit of room then to manoeuvre it and push it if the glue, because the glue is wet. So that is now my frame. Okay, so that's there. So it looks like a window, like you're looking within a window or looking out of a window. I'm going to take my kite. Okay, and because my kite is going to go there, I'm going to have to make sure that on the left hand side I put 2 pieces of foam pads. Okay, so when I flip it over, I said it would have to be on the left hand side of the kite, which means because I flipped it over it'll be on the right hand side of the kite. So that's one. So you put one piece on and then put another piece on top of that. Because we've got the depth of what we've already put on the frame, and I want it to be a little bit higher than the frame, so, and then where it's actually going to stick onto the frame, which will be along there and there, I'm just putting one piece, so one thick there and there, and then a double piece there. Okay, and again, because it's going on to glitter this piece, just going to put some glue on the double-sided, on the double stack one. Oh, thank you, Jenny. I do try to make it look easy so that people are not scared to give it a try. So, and to be honest, I go quite, I won't move around. And then with my foam tape again, I'm going to cut a piece that's wide, but I'm also going to cut it narrow as well, okay, because I don't want it to show through the bow. I can stick that on there ready for using the next time. So I'm actually going to put, I don't know why, on the pack of the ribbon on this, it actually shows the big bow at the bottom of the kite and then the little ones below that, but I've actually put the little ones below the kite and then the big one at the bottom, so it's entirely up to you. So maybe this time I will go up there first. Yeah, so I'm going to do the big bow up the top on this one, and then down the bottom here I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, put 4 little dots of glue. Oh, that's strange. So I'm using my pickup tool. And I'm just going to put these down on the bottom there, where I put my 4 little dots of glue. And where the rope is turning, I'm just turning my little pieces as well. It's not because of the people ringing in and because it's ringing your phone, it's knocking people off. I don't know. Hoping nobody else is having that problem. Right, so that is now my little kite that is placed on there. So the next thing we need to do is sort out the sentiment, the little butterflies which I've already stamped, and then we're going to sort out the verse for the inside. Okay, so the next part is bringing our press to impress in. I really think it's Facebook having problems. I think because so many people are on doing home schools through computers, laptops and stuff like that, I think the internet's being so used, but we're hoping we are getting faster broadband soon, so we're hoping that will help and that will stop it a little bit from our side anyway. Okay, so hopefully it'll help. I mean, hopefully we'll be back in the shop soon, so as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to place that into my press to impress, and the reason that I like a press to impress is because some of the presses, the stamp presses, have got a border there and there, which means when you want to put your card in, you can't put a full A4 in, whereas with this one I can put a full A4 piece of card in, put my magnets on, and I can still close and stamp on 2/3 of the card. So that's why I like the press to impress. So this is my little thing. So what? That's in there. So I'm now going to bring my sentiment there, and that is birthday wishes. So as you can see, by cutting that centerpiece and cutting the amount off the top, it's just wide enough for my sentiment there. Yeah, press to impress is fabulous, isn't it, Judith? Okay, and I'm actually going to use VersaFine Clear. You could use your dye-based ink pads, and this is a black. Let's bring it over, hold that for a couple of seconds. I'm not pushing too much on there, and there's my little sentiment. And I'm just going to wipe that stamp. That is that piece, and then I'm going to bring in my centre bit for the middle of the card. I'll put a magnet down the bottom, magnet at the top, and I know that is where I need to do my stamping. So there, so I'm just going to bring that up and down, and then I know my verse will be in the middle of where my piece is there. Hi Caroline, that's no problem. So, verses. I've got a few. I've got the Happy Birthday Celebrate ones from Companion. I've also got some other ones as well. Birthday filled with happiness is my wish for you. Make some memories today in whatever you choose to do. And I think that would fit lovely in there. Yes, so I'm going to use that one. The birthday filled with happiness is my wish for you. Make some memories today in whatever you choose to do. There we are. So I'm just going to pop that central, roughly. I'm going to pick it up with my press to impress, and then because there's lines on the lid of the press to impress, I can actually make sure that my wording is square, and that's pretty good actually. I'm not worried about that, that's absolutely fine. And then take your ink, gentle taps, bring it over, ink it up. There we are. So a birthday filled with happiness is my wish for you. Make some memories today and whatever you choose to do. Okay, so that's that. Give my stamp a clean. Pop that to the side. And that's the last of that. It's a very nice one, that is. Really, really nice. So I've now finished with my stamping. So it's all about bringing it all together, okay? And you'll find that your little bits of blue are perfect just for that birthday wish, okay? So what I'm going to do now is bring in my card, open it up, and before I start messing on the outside again, I'm going to stick all this inside. So a little bit of glue, so Annie said she can't do without the... Yeah, it would as well. It would. Yeah, the kite die is very nice actually, because you've got the main kite 2 layers. You've got the little tail. You've even got a little fancy frillies to come off the end. You've even got little patterns that you can cut into the actual kite itself. You've got 3 little hearts, you've got a little cross as well, so there's got lots of little things in there. It is really, really nice, I like it. So that's that, and then where my verses look, it's actually going to be where all that is, where I've cut out this middle, so it's not going to affect where people are writing, and that's how you save your bit of card. At the end of the day, it's only a little bit of card, but you know, it's a saving. Just putting my glue on there. Okay, and what I'm going to do, because that might still be a little bit wet, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this bit of card in there. I know it's got sizes on there. Just so if the ink is wet, it's not going to come onto the back of the inside. So we've got a little verse now, a little sentiment. Get that nice and close. Get that there. Just want it to be in line with the little blue bit there. Okay, going to cut down the centre of the end bit there, and then from the point to where I've cut to, I'm going to do that, and then from the point to where I've cut to, I'm going to do that, and that'll give me my little sort of tail. Okay, and I can make that a little bit thinner if I wanted to either side. That's entirely up to you. Okay, so that's birthday wishes. Here's my bit of card. Pop it on there. and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put a bit of glue on there, put that to the side, so it's got a little bit of blue at the back. I'm going to cut it down that side, leaving a little bit of blue. This is why I like using the big scissors, because I can just go in one cut, and then again down through the middle, from the point into there, from the point into there, and I've got my little tab. Okay, and then a little bit of foam tape, that bit there. No, I wouldn't, Leslie. I do, if it's a little butterfly or stuff like that, like on your, I will do that, but come to any sort of image or verse or stuff like that, it's no point. I always use the a stamping press now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to place that on there. I'm going to line up the white with the white on there. Stamp that there, so that just goes into that little block there. And then the butterflies, I'm actually going to take my big scissors, going to cut around the wings, using the card to hold it. Don't worry about the antennae, just go in. It's too fiddly, the antennae, so I'm literally just taking my scissors, cutting around, and where the body is then at the bottom, the little tail, just going to the right with the wing, to the left. So it takes the left bit and the right bit out from between them, and then the little gappers from the point to the end. So you end up with a scissors, a butterfly that's cut like that. And now I'm just going to shape that with my finger. Shape that with my finger. So it's now got a little bit of shape. I'm going to put a little bit of glue just on the back of the body. And then we can put these wherever we want then. So I think I'm going to put a little one down there. Use my pokey tool just to push the body down so that the glue takes. So that's one. So I never worry about the antennae. They're too fiddly to cut, so there's no point. And then when you come to the body, you've got this little white area. I go down from the wing to the body, then the little tail piece I cut to the left and the right of that, and those two little pieces drop out. And I cut a little bit off the bottom of the body, so that's just colour. And I'm just shaping the little butterflies, just using my nail at the back, shaping them a little bit, putting a little curve in them. I think we'll put one up here. Fly in the opposite way. So we've got one there and one there, and then I've got to do a third because I like to do things in threes, just like planting flowers. Putting gems on should always go in odds, not evens. 1s, 3s, 5s. I think Gavin is doing a live next week, and I think Gavin's live. Yeah, you can stamp these out and actually put it into your the best machine for that is actually the Brother, I would say, Brother Scan and Cut, because you can stamp whatever you want or print whatever you want and then just put it on, it'll scan it, and then you can see where it's going to cut and it'll tell you where it's going to cut as well. So that's the one thing I do like about the Brother Scan and Cut. And this third one, I think I'm just going to put in the centre there somewhere, going upwards. There we are. So if I take that card out, so that is now my card. Oh, Lee, you should use him more, it's brilliant, especially if you stamp images out. So that is the actual card, and that is my little verse inside, and that's a standard A5 C5 envelope card. That is the original one, so you can see it's a paler blue and a different stencil inside. The scan and cut element of the Brother Scan and Cut is the easiest way of doing it, is when you've got to make everything else. Okay, so with this one I actually did exactly what I did here with the two windows, and then I just took a scissors between them and took the bit, took this little bar from the centre of them. So that's exactly where that was. And just to show you, this has now dried. That one is now dried, and I think that has dried to the touch now as well. So even though I did that at the beginning, that is now drying as well. So it does need to set overnight, but it is dry enough to work with at the moment as well. So I'd love to just say that Gavin is doing a live next week, and I think he's hoping that the new Knitwits products that he's getting in will be in to use them. I know he's looking to use them, he wants to use them quite a bit. So Gavin will probably be doing that Knitwits live next week. So thank you very much for supporting us and watching our videos. I hope you actually enjoyed it and can follow through. Don't forget, if you've got an oval, you can cut two ovals from the centre. Don't have to use little squares, you could use ovals, you could use circles. Change the windows to whatever you want and just enjoy what you're doing. And if you make a little mistake, it's a little piece of card. Put it to the side, use the rest of it for sentiments, and continue with whatever you do. It's all about the learning curve. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. It's lovely for everybody to be here again today, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye. Thank you. Thank you for the love.